Welcome back to Ravens today. Got some bad news for you, everyone. It's not terrible news, but it's bad news regardless. It's not the end of the world, but we're going to dive into it, okay? I'm your host, Connor Gioffreda, giving you all the latest updates on anything, all things Ravens. Isaiah likely went down with an ankle injury. He had rolled his ankle at the end of practice. But the good news is, according to John Harbaugh, that it doesn't look that bad. He'll be out for a few weeks. The MRI today will confirm that. So we'll keep everyone updated on how that goes. I think he'll be okay. It's not the end of the world. I think that he will, come back later on towards the end of the preseason, towards the first week of the regular season. I think he'll definitely be there for the start of the regular season. We're still early in training camp, so he probably won't play a couple of preseason games just to be safe. But again, it's just unfortunate that he's going to be out for a period of time. But again, John Harbaugh did say that it doesn't look bad. He just rolled it, so they'll just get an MRI to confirm the extent of it. But these things happen in training camp, a player goes down. We're just, panicked a little bit on how severe he is, and the extent of the injury. But from what it looks like, this is a miss. Like, it could have been worse situation. But nevertheless, you never want it to happen in training camp, but it does. The injuries do happen. But again, we really dodged a bullet here, I believe, and Isaiah likely will come back well before the start of the regular season, or at max the start of regular season. So we will fully expect him to be there, and I think that he'll just be able to hit the ground running and won't miss a beat when it comes time to play. Moving on, so the players that are returning from injury, like I had mentioned yesterday, Jaire Alexander was at practice and Rashad Baitman was at practice. So, Jaire was dealing with some soreness. Same with Bateman, so they were they weren't at practice just to be safe the other day. So again, nothing to to worry about there. Anyone else that I mentioned in the previous video is still out besides those two. But again, this is Bateman and Alexander, two guys that are good friends with Lamar, great chemistry with Lamar. Expect to be out there playing the starting position, especially with Jaire, because we are kind of putting some eggs in that basket because of his history with injuries. But again, like I've said previously, I believe that it's mostly with how the Green Bay Packers dealt with it and not just him. I think that the Packers, and no offense to the Green Bay Packers, but I think that they kind of dealt with it the wrong way when he was injured. And that kind of confirmed it with Jaire Alexander's dad when he was interviewed, saying that the Packers really didn't do well when it came to, dealing with Jaire Alexander's injuries that he had sustained during his time there. So again, the Ravens are just playing it safe. So glad to see that he's back and ready to go. Same with Bateman. Glad that he's back. And I predicted this. I think that they were just dealing with soreness. Bateman was dealing with maybe a bug that he picked up or something. So he was just out for just to be safe and not spread any sickness around. But it was Alexander that was dealing with the soreness. So again, nothing to be concerned about. Hopefully that Bateman's flu bug or whatever he has doesn't go around, because we all know Lamar Jackson has one of the worst immune systems in the world, and he gets sick every other week at some point. So he'll be, he had a sick game. He had his poop game against the Browns, and so hopefully he doesn't get whatever Bateman had. Moving on, so Mike Green spoke with reporters the other day, talking about how he's adapted to the game itself, and he had high praise for his level of play now that the pads are on. So According to Green, when he was asked, there's always room for improvement, but the last few days have been fun because the pads are on. So, I think he's a much better player when the pads are on, I guess. But, what do, we're just going with it, okay? Also, that, you know, players, Adafe Owe had some things to say about him, saying that he just looks so electric out there that, you know, especially after the pads are on, because it's like a real first real practice for Green. So this is good news to hear, especially from him. And he's monitoring the rookies' progress, and to the coaches as well, because sometimes players need to adapt a little bit when the pads come on, and it just looks like the Mike Green is just, you know, already hitting the ground running there, and just like the same with Malachi Starks. So we need a guy like Mike Green, because we've been looking for another pass rusher for a long time. Ajabo, I've said it many, many times, probably is going to be either put down to the practice squad or cut or traded, whatever. So we're hoping and praying Mike Green is the guy that we wanted out of David Ajabo when we signed him. Mind you, I know David Ajabo, it was an investment. We had to wait for him to recover from his injury that he sustained when he was first, drafted. When he was at the combine, sustained a devastating injury. So again, another thing that we have to wait for, or had to wait for, excuse me. So guess it didn't work out very well. But again, Mike Green looks promising. This is according to coaching. This is according to the players, and this is according to media that watched him practice yesterday. So it's great to see. Keep your fingers crossed. I think that Mike Green is going to be an absolute wrecking ball on the Ravens defense. And lastly here, the Ravens, like I mentioned in the last couple of videos, have, last season, the penalties were stupid. Penalties against the Ravens were sloppy. The penalties were stupid. They lost mind you, I have my own, theories about the NFL referees, but we all know that those theories a little bit, and we've all, common sense knows that there's some under the table dealing going on. But still, most games are usually played pretty fairly in the Ravens, and it's always on the Ravens. When I say it's Ravens versus Ravens, it's always something that the Ravens do that costs them a game or makes a game that they should have won with ease too close. Major part of that is the penalties. So Ravens hired longtime NFL referee umpire Tony Michalik to work with the team and help out with rules interpretations and penalty explanations and preventions. It is a similar move to what the Bills did last season, and it's a great hire because, he is, assessing any penalties that the Ravens have early, and it's just honing their skills at making sure that none of these penalties happen, or as minimalistic as possible, so that the Ravens do not lose gigantic amount of yards during games and then just shooting themselves in the foot. He worked 23 years as an umpire, including a Super Bowl. So again, I think this is a smart move by the Ravens to bring in a guy who is well seasoned in the game, knows the NFL playbook by the back of his hand, knows the penalty book by the back of his hand. So having a guy there that can really discipline the Ravens on offense and defense and make sure that they negate the penalties as much as possible. Great addition to the Ravens coach staff, and I'm all for it because penalties are one of the reasons why we lost games last season. It was stupid, and I'm so glad that the Ravens are addressing this early, because we know we won a Super Bowl, and getting a penalty and losing 20, 30, 40 yards a game like last season isn't going to cut it. So this is a perfect hire for the Ravens. Absolutely love it. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Ravens today. I'm your host, Connor Gioffreda. Again, As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the videos. I will catch you all later.